Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon listeners. It's me Suleiman Ben Sware coming back on Facebook Live. Today is Wednesday the 11th of May 2022. The time's just gone 36 minutes past 3 in Birmingham, England. Assalamu alaikum. Let me just share this video. We share this video and the program will start. Okay, thank you very much. The program is just to share a perspective, the perspectives on the swearing ceremony of new cabinet, and I will furthermore have a brief on this controversy surrounding surrounding the Dubai controversy. We'll have a brief perspective on that, and on the ceremony, on the swearing of the new cabinet, we'll look at where the interest seems to focus the vice president, his position on who he is, and we'll go and look at a brief history of vice presidents to understand what this position is about and what our expectations will be. And I'll start by looking at the swearing itself. It's a ceremony. Does it have any significance? I don't think it have any, because we have seen in our culture now swearing is just a formality. It's just that someone believes in the Quran or believe in the Bible. They have to, when they hold on to that, they are truthful. They have the right intentions for what they're claiming to swear allegiance to, or what they seems to swear to uphold. We have seen that generally in our traditions. It's become a tradition. And but the interesting thing here is whether we accept a tradition, whether it's meaningful or not. That's not the topic. The topic is the detail. What we can look at the detail. We look at the details here. When we look at the details, we have to put it on based on facts, or based on a logic, or based on something that we can all see or touch, or able to think through. And these are the members. If you look at the members of the cabinet, what does it tell you? If you think that a single person in a cabinet can make a difference, or will make the difference, I am not agreed. I believe a team, a cabinet, but most importantly, the person at the executive. We have to remember the power of the executive. He technically, that's why we look at the new draft constitution, to reduce that power in order for the power not to be abused. The intentions of the person heads the executive, the president, his intentions, his ability are very important. His intention most because he might lack certain abilities, but that's why he have a team of cabinet to help do that. If he listens and he able to he need the ability, a level to comprehend what he's been fed, to able to have an analytical mind and able to take advice, and so that to make sure that advice is implemented. But the issue is political will. Because of the power of that executive, without the power, the political will not be there. The political will to fight corruption, the political will to move the country in the path that it has to be, the political will to build our democracy. Because we have seen the intentions of the president. He wants to perpetuate himself. We go back to the reason why we have a new draft constitution, but he doesn't want it. It's nothing about it's nothing about anything else, but it's about one thing, that's what he wants. And why any individual Gambian thinks that what he wants should be what should be considered, not what is there for the greater good, what is for the national interest. If a person comes into power through an agreement of 3 years, the person did not even let's say he have never dreamt of even coming to power. We know all the circumstances he came to power with. He managed to come to power as an executive with an agreement of 3 years. He betrayed it for 3 years. And that person now is trying to challenge the people, because what is captured in that draft constitution is the people's view, majority. Or again, in fact, it's a mandate given to people, that people he trusts. It's for that mandate to be translated for people's view, to be taken to the people to vote for it. That's what he denied the people, because he's scared that people would vote for the term limit. He doesn't want the term limit in that way. He wants to count after. That's great. That's dishonest. We all know he's dishonest, but it's more than dishonest. But tell you the level of greed. The issue about corruption, fighting corruption. You see, that's why if people are cynical or did not believe in anything the president said, this is the thing. Corruption. This person brought in, kept the people that have plundered the state coffers. Alaji Sise, Mambo Rangers, let's go on the list. He brought them back into government. The same person who told us that he doesn't need anybody that had help, the dictator. But what he did was first to bring these people who knows how to do things, who have done it, have proved to know how to do these things. That person cannot tell us he's going to fight corruption. With the millions spent on our various reforms, it's just vanished because the political will wasn't there. The Johnny Commission, reckless. It's just in the bin. All the other commissions, investigations, no land reforms, nothing absolutely was done. Everything was concentrating on self-perpetuation of power. Refused the draft constitution for the self-perpetuation of 5 years. Refused because of the power of, instead of appoint, to nominate, so that he will nominate and the parliament will approve his nomination. All those things he refused. This is where we have to measure. We don't just hear what the person say. Let's watch what the person have done. That will bring us to the track record, the past track record. And again, even if we have hope, that's for the future. We can be optimistic. We can have hope due to a speed given. Because of what? Based on the past track record, and then will help us to measure what we think is going to happen. But if we use the same analogy, the same metrics, anything that Barrow says should not stand. The series of corruption under his watch, that he is definitely personally involved, and the people he kept in cabinet. If he is serious about development, why keep Musa Drame in cabinet? Musa Drame should be in prison, but he would not, because of part of that corruption he took part. Barrow benefited from that corruption. Why he left, James Fulmus Gomez to go home. James Fulmus Gomez should be in prison for the corruption in fisheries. Why did he let Mamadou Ndiaye to go home? Mamadou Ndiaye should be accountable and taken to prison. He is not ready for that. Now, why have Hamad Ba in cabinet? Not productive, and he's a criminal. He should be in prison. He should be investigated, taken to court, and I'll tell you, he'll end up in prison. Any competent court that look into any of these, their final home should be in prison for a long time. Why did he leave Bailamin Job to go home? Because all these people are linked to him. Their corruption is his corruption. Their corruption is his corruption. But again, keeping these people, what have they done? Why keep them? If you said you have a new beginning, the cabinet should tell us the new beginning. Why have Ahmad Ba there? That's not a new beginning. You think tourism have been better off? What future did we expect? One, why do we have Musa Dramé there? After what he done with lands, what do you think is going to happen to fisheries? Now, why have someone like Mr. Demba Sabali as agriculture minister of the most critical sector? Tell me what makes that choice. Was that choice based on anything for the national interest, apart from entrenching bad government? Why have Mr. Samate at the health ministry? You see, we can go on to this. That's why when we look at the future, we should look at the past track records. But we measure our expectations. Why? What do we expect? What helps us to measure our expectations? The looming crisis we live in. But I'll tell you, what is about to come would be even at another scale. Then what do we expect? Fundamental people with experience, people with integrity, people who would serve the people. That's what we expect. And Barrow have an advantage here, and he did not use it. His cabinet doesn't have to be politicians. His cabinet doesn't have to be. His hands are not tied by a constitution, just as Jawahir's hands were tied by a constitution. He had to nominate most of his cabinet from the people elected in office. Barrow can appoint any Gambian. And even the word Gambians who have dual citizenship, he can take up amendment to Parliament. Because it's critical to have the best out of us. Then there should be a barrier. Our expectations is, of course, to serve the country. Our expectation to see things better. These are our expectations. Now, why should we take that decision lightly? Why should we just jump on because someone makes a speech? You see, we keep on lowering the bar. We keep on accusing Barrow he lowered the bar. But we, the critics, are lowering the bar as well. We are lowering the bar as well. This is not about an individual. This is about systems. This is about a transition that failed. And without a proper transition, we got to fail. Without a foundation, you cannot build a house. If you decided to build a murky foundation, you find out what will happen when the weather comes in. Give it time. When gravity knocks in. This is how serious we should be. We are expected to be opinion leaders or opinionated. We should be critical. It should not be based on sentiments. Our expectations should be what builds the foundation. The foundation is still not built. We have lost 5 years, in fact, of crumbling that soil, muddying the waters and everything else. If we expect a new beginning, the composition of the cabinet is not a new beginning. And I don't believe, I can bet anything, I can bet my life on that Barrow cannot bring about a new beginning. It's impossible, it's illogical, it's impossible. Nobody can convince me of that. What he did was not a mistake. It's a systematic. It was systematic. And that cannot be blamed on any single individual. Yes, collectively, and some individuals should be blamed maximum. But doesn't mean that it's their decision. Barrow should be held accountable and the buck should stop with him. He's an adult. He can choose. Again, Barrow had the opportunity, we know, at the beginning he was strangled in a collision. But the minute he started to flex, he got rid of one cabinet minister. My fatty, he brought in a cousin who was completely incompetent to head the interior. That's his intentions. Why didn't he look at competent Gambians? No, we told you that's what he was doing. At present, I don't know how true it is. The lady that led the environment and global warming apparently is a niece. We all know she doesn't have the competence to lead that ministry. It's a very important ministry, but it's a very lucrative ministry. Because of that ministry would be authorizing to demarcate forests, to demarcate these things, because the environment have to sign off. Not only that, the money that comes into global warming and travel for global conferences and so on are huge. There are huge potentials. But the reason why it's a huge potential, because it's a critical sector and that sector needed to be run by experts. Does it have the capacity to do that? No. Why is it there? Nepotism. How do we expect a new beginning? Where's the new beginning? Furthermore, we look at it. The time he got, he have the will or whatever it is to get rid of UDP. He chooses the people he wanted. He brought in Mamburenja. He brought in other people. What difference did that make? He knew that's what he wanted. He could choose from any Gambian. He was not restricted. He was not restricted to Jammeh's former enablers. He was not restricted to the UDP. He was not restricted to any other political party. He had the entire population of Gambians in and outside to consider. But he chose the people he knows their track record. And we expect that things are going to change. I hope we don't go to sleep and just expect that things are going to change. I hope we wake up and smell that coffee. That coffee should be, we have just seen what's been going in the country anyway. Let's move on. From these records, past records, and expectations, we have to understand serving the executive. I know of people that have rejected to serve in cabinet. Yes, during this consultation, Barrow wanted some people in cabinet, they refused because they didn't have the confidence in him. And they don't want to be mired into any controversy or so on, because they don't believe in him. They don't believe that he won't have a new beginning. Now, if any other Gambian decide to serve in that cabinet, we have to hold the Gambian on those records, on the person's past record, his experience, or what this thing. We have to look at his profile. But we shouldn't be prejudiced for any other reason. If he's not capable, we call him as not capable. That's one thing we should realize. Gambians have the right to serve and a duty to serve. And position of cabinet are political appointees. That's what makes it a little bit tricky. But does not mean that you have to be a politician to do it, or if you are a technocrat, you cannot do it. But now that's a measure. If you happen to take an appointment in cabinet and fail to, or you are restricted, or you've been denied to do the right thing, then to find out whether you are honorable, it's not to sit down to take the salaries, take the per diem, take the coziness of cabinet, because there's a reason that we give you that resources. You have to resign so that people be aware that things are not working. But you cannot sit on the cabinet for the period of the cabinet until you get sacked and come out to say that, oh, I tried, I wanted to do this. No, we have to look at the track record of when you've been in cabinet. That's why I said the executive, if people are appointed, I have no problem. I expect them. It's up for them to evaluate. Evaluate. People been consulted for defense. They said, I don't think I will take it. They don't want to take it because they know what it entails. And respect to them. They don't think they will have the support for what they think needed to be done. They did not lobby for the position. People identify them for their capacity, their integrity, what they can do. And other positions as well, people have been considered. And these people did not lobby for it. That's why they didn't take it. That's very important to note, that I am not here to say that anybody served in cabinet. No. But if you are in cabinet, a full term, we have a track record of you. We can look at your track record and gauge from there on whether do you deserve to stay in cabinet. Or what do we expect of you staying in cabinet? But if you never serve in cabinet, you come into cabinet, what we do, we ask, oh, where was Ben Swari? What is Ben Swari's education? What is Ben Swari's experience? What is Ben Swari's track record? Track record. Is he known to be a person of integrity? What's the proof of that? His experience, what's the proof of that? His education, what is proof of that? That's what is expected. And if Ben Swari don't want like that, Ben Swari should not take that position. That's what comes with the position. People to hold to account. The other bit is about political. The political bit, I know, yeah, it's a political appointment, should be a political, yeah, you have to consider political. Look, then if a president thinks that he have to consider political appointments in cabinet, and decided to take those people and put them in critical sectors, and those sectors fail, let the president be ready to take the buck. Let it ready to take the responsibility. The buck will stop with him, with nobody else. Taking them massively because of whatever you think he done for you. A person that you cannot even want his parliamentary constituents you lost, and you think that person have gravity in politics, he have influence in politics. For you to sacrifice, and nobody is worth sacrificing in the national interest, especially the critical sector of agriculture. You see, these are the reasons some people say, no, look, I don't think this guy is right. And I tell you, Barrow will never be ready. It's political. If the president thinks he has to do something political, let it be right. If not, he'll be like, hell, that's fine. We will not say the excuse, yeah, he have to appoint them because it's political. Find a position in your party to give them, if that's their expertise. If you think their influence is to mobilize for you, find a way to give them resources to keep them happy and keep them there. And if those resources too are not coming from the right channels, we're bound to, because the political party is an institution. These are the things we have to remember as well. We know the lobbyists. We know the lobbyists. I have a conversation with a friend yesterday where he told me one of the ministers, all these things. I said, but I mean, oh, I know him to be this, I know him for, I said, be careful. You know that he lobbied for his position. You know that some people lobbied for him. And the people that lobbied for him expected rewards. And these are business people. How is he going to deal with that? You see? That's why we have to be very careful. And when we look at people's past record, always remember something. The Peter Principles competency comes at different levels. Some people are competent as a laborer, but they will not be competent as foremen. Some people are competent as foremen, they are not competent as laborer. And it goes. The people reach a level of competency, people reach a level of super competency, people reach a level, they will be incompetent. Cabinet is a different position. It's a policy level, it needs an analytical mind, it's a matter of not because you have to be able to deal with technocrats, to have an understanding of the field of what they're talking about, how to deal with things, how to solve these problems, because and how to make recommendations to the press. These are things to cabinet. These are important things. Some people are good at managerial level. Some people are good at different things. Other people have served in international communities. They did very well. Or what we know is they serve in international communities. But international communities are completely different from domestic, I'll tell you. Yeah, there are things that you measure from international community, the exposure and everything. There are so many that you think that someone should carry with him. The culture, organization culture, and the way of doing things. But some people just, because of everything was structured, and there was a system working, they came in, they just fit in. Now, you go into a place like Gambia, there's no system, the structures are completely the same. Now, you have to build this. They have not built those things in the international community. They went in and this thing and served their mandate and left. We don't know much of their performance. But we have hope. We have expected hope because he served the UN, he served the World Bank, he has served the IMF, and we never had of a controversy, and he left after his tenure. We fine. It's different measure from when you say someone served the international based on private sector, working at the private sector and the international. Because private sector, we know, is about performance. Performance related, the measure of performance is different from what happened in international communities. It's more of profits, and so on. You see, a different perspective. If someone have risen up or performed long, and I mean something to measure. But again, the measure of the person's integrity is quite tricky because of it's a system that is structured. Not, you know, some people's integrity, I don't call it integrity. It's because of they cannot do it. They are not allowed to do it. It's not that even the opportunity arises, they will not do it. Not that because someone is watching at them. Not that they're scared someone is find out. No, it's something wrong. It's something I don't subscribe in, something I'm not going to do. Very difficult to find. We have to understand this lobbies. And a lot of these people have lobbied for positions. I've been lobbying for positions. And most of these people, what happened is they went into this international community, and people, I know they paid well, but they pay according to, especially your standard of living, expectation of standard of living. And most of these people don't have savings, they don't have investments. And they're accustomed to certain living. And once they lose that job, they'll go back to Gambia. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for them. They have to be disciplined people because their income drastically drops. If they don't have investments, they don't have pension schemes, they don't have savings, I mean, they have to be really active. Now, the lifestyle must be disciplined. And some of these people, this is their problem. That's why when they come to government, they find out, oh, I'm surprised he was at the World Bank. I'm surprised he was at the IMF. I'm surprised he was at the UN. We have to really remember these things when we look at these positions or people taking up these positions. These are important. This is not about, and don't be scared of people calling it for Anyan, or I mean, he's jealous or something like that. That's their mindset. This is something critical. We cannot. This is something important to us. It's about nation building. We have to be critical about it. If people don't like it, let them not take the positions. I don't see a private person being brought to the lens put on him, or the tech being put on him, or her. We move on to it's about the nepotism and entrenchment. We have seen that in this cabinet. We have seen it in the past, we have seen it in the future. And again, this is where another challenge we should look at. When these ministers are given positions, now how does the system work? Now it's about the system working. It's about the structures. Now, if Barrow started to tell them, oh, I want Ben Swara in there, I want this guy in there, interfering, undermining them. Not that because Ben Swara is good, but because Ben Swara is my friend, or Ben Swara is my cousin, is my this thing. Why do you think that's going to happen? Now, that's what we think of when we talk about cabinet or cabinet ministers. When we are critical, it's not only about the person. There are a lot of things we have to consider: the structures, the systems, and the agenda. What the agenda is here. Is it Barrow's agenda or is it a national agenda? Remember when we come out, oh, the national development plan, it became a personal development plan. Nobody talked about it anymore. Now they talk about another NDP. You see, we have to, that's why we have to be critical. National development plan, oh, it's so good, it's have this, it's have this. Have it ever been implemented? What have been implemented? Personal development plan. Now the agenda. Now what is going to happen? We will deal with those things, but just in case I miss this, what I'm trying to point at is, starting from themselves, what reforms are going to happen within cabinet for Padem? Padem, that's a legal way of stealing. Structured theft. It's Padem and other operational things they do. If those reforms... Hello, Muslim. Okay, yeah, speak to your mom. I'm on radio. You understand what these people are going to do. We have to measure that. That's where we have to look at. That when we look at their decisions, what agenda do they have? What commitments are they ready to make? What sacrifices are they ready to make? Are they gonna go off the so-called two vehicles, utility vehicle, because difficult times? Are they in it with us? You see, these are the times that we should start to even, oh yeah, not only about speech, it's about the actions. And now ministers are streamlining. The budget of ministers spending on these things are streamlined. That money is going down to this. Vehicles, but them now is, very scrutinized. There's no incentive for these people just to travel to listen or even claim just to be doing things or going to every Tom, Dick and Harry's welcome or whatever it is. Or taking entourage to things that they no. You see, these are things we have to start to see for us to, start to be optimistic. We have to be seen to start to be optimistic. And that's where it comes. Serving at different levels. If the minister, for instance, Minister of Finance, that is very important because the Vice President talked about, or the Minister of Finance, GRA. If Yankuba Dabo still is GRA, what do you expect? You think you have a way forward? You think GRA is not reformed? Not only Yankuba, it's systematic. What happens at GRA is systematic. And if you elevate anybody from GRA, it will be impossible for a person to deal with it. What interventions are going to go to GRA? The leakage at GRA. You see, and go on. What happens at ports? The managing director at ports. What happened, other areas? What happened at tourism? The tourism, how to call it, the authority on the tourism. Who led that? Who leads that? Because these are the implementers. These are the people that implement those policies. That comes in. The policy might look very fine from the cabinet level coming down. But if in that level of managing director, in that level of even directors are dictated by the president one way or the other, based on whatever it is, what do you expect about change? That's why we have to look at this in that way. Because again, I am saying, just as I said about ministers, I am a public sector person. I respect the public sector. I'm a public sector person. Because I know what sacrifices it takes to be in the public sector, be a teacher, nurse, whatever it is. Serve in the public sector. I'm very biased on that. I have empathy on that. Yeah, I'm a private sector person too, but not especially if they're ethical. But the impact, the sacrifice that people do in the public sector is just great. That's why I said that if any Gambian is appointed at the public sector based on merits, I welcome that. And I'll hold you accountable according to your performance. I hold you accountable according to your records. That be past records and what you're doing now. It's never personal. And this appointments to what we have to look at is it's going to be political, it's going to be lobbyists. And lobbyists, again, there's an interest. Wherever lobbyists happen, there's an interest. Now, we'll go on to the most area that was interested here, where we want to concentrate, the vice president's position. And Badra Juve position. And that's where, because I am not going to reference Barrow's, Barrow's speech is good. No, a good speech, for what? It's not about public lectures. Public lectures, you can say, oh yeah, it's not what he does, it's what he says, fine. But even public lectures are more powerful when people can see you in what you say. As a president, it's your records we hold. What's the point of Barrow saying this? How many things Barrow have said? Now, the vice president, and the reason why, I said that's why we should not lower the bar. That's what we expected for any public, from a representative. Yes, we don't expect everybody to be levelly eloquent, because public speech is kind of a very difficult thing. But he's a literature, he's a person, from a literature background. He's eloquent. We have to measure that. I know because of what we used to hear from the Dr. Toure's baram, angry, and so on, or the psychophancy. What we used to hear from even the eloquent Anti-Farmator Tambajang of measuring up politically speaking to the appeasing the president, and because we know she's very eloquent and good in communication. But what we read from that was it's just political. It's about the president, appeasing president, and other people. But the content too is interesting. He gave context, certain context, not long, but people saw directions in there. And I understand why people became hopeful from the speech. They saw direction there. Oh, he's calling out certain critical. He's talking about the condition of living and stuff like that. They're brilliant. I understand where that comes from. Talk about all this, calling out the minister of, talk about two very critical, security and the economy. And that's what we expect. Then we'll look at the other areas of job creation and others, youths and other things. That's what the cabinet is about. I am completely happy with that. Am I surprised? No. I have heard the minister speak before. And that memorable one was when he went to Senegal and spoke about the Senegambia. And when I made a program, I said that, Brad, that's good. I heard about his background, but as I said, that background is always made. But when he made that speech, I said, oh, that's a brilliant one. It seems this thing. That's one thing about the speech. Who is he? Who is he? Now this is where I said the measure. How do we go by the track record? Again, it's not a surprise that she's worked very hard from being a teacher, public sector, to become a technocrat, got the qualifications, graduates, different areas, and move up the ladder in the public sector, in the force of public, to, I think, deputy permanent secretary or permanent secretary. Of it went to the international community. Never controversy, never heard of a controversy. International community, World Bank projects, respected, came back, never controversy. Served in cabinet. When he first came in cabinet, is one of those that, because most of the cabinet we knew was political, it's one of those, or he's a technocrat, and respected for that. And his track record in cabinet, never had of controversy, theft, allegation of corruption, nepotism, or anything, none. That's a good record. Now, what we do have to ask though, as other things we need to put the lenses on, his performance as what have been delivered for the critical sector of higher education. And I would love for a journalist to ask these specific questions, his achievements, and to point out areas. I know the achievement will be called out. Let me call out things that people call out as achievement. Oh, that now we have a new university under his watch, the Science and some Technology and Science University, and we have other territorial institutions for other curves, whatever it is. I have a problem with that. Is that just window dressing? I have a problem with that. Is that just window dressing? Because what GTTI was serving, that capacity should have been invested in to have the trades. The trades, GTTI should not have been discontinued, and to move it to use these things. If I know we need a science university, everything else, but first things first, the existing university is still not in good capacity. Now, if we don't reach that level, why are we starting something else? Is it a political appeasement to the people saying, oh, this government to have a university? I had a university, this government had a, was it that? Was it a political directives? I mean, I'm saying what this is, what critically this is what I'm thinking. From my outlook, looking at it, I'm not satisfied. The University of Gambia should be, look, just go and find out what is not in that university. After his the vice president served a full term, uninterrupted. But that university, yeah, I know he's not the vice president, but look, he was the minister of higher education. What was the challenges? Why the university asked its class for capacity? What was it about? Again, it's another thing is the content. I mean, curriculums. What have happened? The direction of we are overproducing lawyers on art students and stuff like that. Yes, does it mean that we need a new university for science and technology? But it's not about just a new university. Is it equipped? Is that university equipped? Why can we not actually equip a faculty in the Gambia University for now, until we build on? The other thing is, we had the opportunity. I'm not blaming him for this. I'm raising it for people to think about it, and probably answers will come out. I don't know where the answers are. I'm not saying I have the answers. I know we had an opportunity in 2017 when the German president visited the Gambia. That was the reason the German president visited the GTTI and other institutions, victim center and so on. Obviously, for the transition, and it's about trying to get Gambia to absorb back the Gambian returnees and to stop the flow of Gambians to as refugees to Germany. That was it was. But one thing they promised was to help. Where is the help? When what did we benefit from that? Did the government, because what I heard before, that government did not present anything. Government was incapable of putting up anything for Germans to act. When the German president visited Gambia, visited Ghana and other West African countries that are affected, and about 2 years after that visit, I spoke to someone who in fact spoke to someone who sat with a some German technocrats, and they said, look, Gambia did not technically do nothing about this thing advances. We haven't seen anything. Ghana have done this, and Ghana is benefiting so far much on this now. This my background on this. The Ministry of Higher Education was one area that we would have benefited from this. Whose failure is it? Was it the finance ministry? Was the government entirely? Was this ministry? Whose ministry? Because I know he does not do, does the request for resources. The resource mobilization task or responsibility is within the Minister of Finance. But this thing needed to be explained. You know, I will hold on to him on accountability on this, but it's based on questions. Because I don't think that was satisfactorily been done. I'm not, as I said, it's never been held for wanting or been anything else. But the other thing is his other qualities, sorry, I meant to say, is he have been praised to be a unifier for people in cabinet. This I heard from people that have been cabinet or people who have witnessed his stance. And once actually, someone said this to me that Bartambi, they were on about few of them were in the cabinet, not the entire cabinet. Few of them were in cabinet, and President Barrow turned around and started speaking Sarhule to Bartambi. And apparently he was the only minister who had the audacity to say to the president, sorry sir, I don't think this is appropriate. Let's go back to a language we all can understand. Apparently he did that, and he have really quieting when certain squabbles have come out in cabinet. And this is not him saying it. These are people that witness it in cabinet. In cabinet, he have just dampened it. So look, I don't think that's fair, or that's right. He have done that. He have those qualities. And again, we can try to understand, and those these qualities brought him to stay in cabinet. In fact, from most of the rumors coming out, or people that he was one that was not to return. Not that to cabinet, not if he was elevated, not. He was saying that because he's been seen as not a psychophan of Barrow. He have not been showing signs of psychophancy. I've never had him on a political rally, campaign or anything, or come out as a psychophan or cheerleader of Barrow. He's been a technocrat and concentrating on his job. This is what he's been saying, and based on those things, he was not featured. I know some people have said Dr. Sise was going to take his position. I tell you, there were very, very decent position. The former Chancellor of Gambia University, Mohammed Mohammed Ka was going to be, and you know, there are other people saying that they were the ones likely to be the next his position. But to say that he's going to be a vice president was not in the radar. Up to about 30 minutes before the announcement that day, because we were in a forum that the speculation was going high. There were a lot of people lined up. The person likely to inherit the trade ministry was even on the shortlist to be considered vice president. This was the issue about agenda. You know, the agenda issue too, that try to get agenda in. And I know of a link that lobbied, not only for agenda, but for Christian thing. And these people are people that are close to Barrow, that lobbied for a Christian vice president, because of telling Barrow that this will give you a lot of, you know, credit. That's what it is. And in the forum, it just happened at the last minute, before the announcement, about hours before that, people said, oh, actually, Musa Drame did not have it. Yeah, he wanted it. Ahmad Ba did not have it. Yes, he wanted it. And Fatmata Ben Bambesi did not have it. And a lot of people, did not have it. And Asatito is not going to stay. Asatito saying was not. That's who was going. Now, and someone said it's going to be a female Christian. That was like, wow. I mean, nobody have seen that. And names started to come out. And someone said he spoke to many people and they pointed to the lower education minister as the candidate. Then, as I said, 30 minutes before I got this message, please don't publish the name. but Badura is going to be the vice president. That's why I laugh when Sankara came, or the envelope has been given to me. That's a lie. Most people know who the list was. He have seen this thing before that. And done published. I left it till 5 minutes ago, and I just said, actually, the vice president is a present member of cabinet, and is a male. That's all I said. I left it at that. People in the forum knows, and I share with two Dauda MLCC and only one person, apart from myself. I said this is it. That's why he came as a surprise that he was it. Now, why he became, or how he became. Later, someone, Ababakar Sankoni or Sankoni, the press communication guy at the is it information? No, not information ministry. I don't know which ministry. Health ministry or information ministry came out on a branch, the branch, to say that, oh, Badara actually is NPP. Sorry, I did not hear it from him. What I had or understand from what people have been sharing is that Sankoni said that Badara is NPP, and Badara wrote the NPP manifest. I don't think Sankoni is lying. It might happen. Now, does that make him a politician? No. Does that make him MPP? No. Because I know political parties that have manifestos that people have contributed. And did he write the entire manifesto? Did he author the entire manifesto? Or did he subscribe to the manifesto? I know of political parties that have asked people's view, and people have seen their views prominent in a manifesto. Manifestos even in Europe, yeah. Voters do hold politicians to it, but politicians don't even believe their manifesto. Did he do it based on being asked, and he did not see I have a problem with that. For me, I will not subscribe to anything I don't believe in. Did he have a belief in Barrow NPP? I don't know. That's needed to be asked, to be proven. Looking at that background, I don't think that was enough for him. Sankano, thank you. I don't think that was enough to say that he was NPP. I don't think that was enough. And if NPP, because being NPP, that's why I know, then other people would have been cabinet ministers or be the vice president. I think there were other qualities, and those qualities are what I have named here, but others have been considered. Because when it heated up, there are certain positions, and the entire position of cabinet, appointing cabinet, you have what we call a security brief. And the president has his security brief, which I was privy to. I don't say I subscribe to it. I was privy to. And the security brief goes this way. Sorry, I'm not there's something funny about it. The security brief went this way. They pointed three things to as a sort of a metrics because I mean when you do this brief, you kind of give it something so that the person you briefing can relate to why what they did to guide them. And some of the metrics was, yeah, it's up to you to look at the gender and other things. I mean, it does help representation, but this is going to be a very difficult time. And when the Vice President, Mr. Juve, Honorable Juve, is he Honorable? Mr. Juve, talked about standard of living, I see it again. I talked about this before, but just I can see that in there. They said to the President, this second time is going to be very difficult. Gambians have, the international community goodwill is gone. Gambians have exhausted the goodwill. It's exhausted. Now, because of, for various reasons, your governance and various reasons. But the economy, the impact, corruption, blunting and everything, and the bite of the economy on people is scary, and the insecurity of the country. Now, with these global challenges that we are not likely to have goodwill from the international community, and things are going to get very expensive, with Ukraine and everything else, not sell that what they're telling him. You have to be very careful. The person you have to appoint have to be loyal to you. The person need a capacity, but not overall political capacity. The person does not have to have, don't take anyone who have political relationship with Senegal. And this is the reason why. The elected president, this is the reason why. Because things are going to be very difficult. There might be social unrest. And in fact, this security brief became even more relevant when Barrow did not have what he desired in the parliamentary results. It became more relevant, this security brief. That's why after the parliamentary elections, a lot of changes. A lot of people were on the list, were taken off. Now you have to rethink. Now, there might be social unrest, and you don't want someone who have a political ties or from a very influential political background as your vice president, because they can easily manipulate the system and replace you, especially if they're ambitious. Not only that, they have to be very ambitious. They can replace you. 1. 2, if there is social unrest to the level and your security guarantees is Senegal, Senegal might look at a way, if they have a political relationship with the person, or they can find a political relationship person that their interests would still be served, you can easily replace. Senegal might support the vice president to replace you. These were the fears. But the competency part was, you needed to be insulated. That the president needed to be insulated. And that's one of the reasons that went against Dr. Touré. Dr. Touré was not a good deputizer. She was not eloquent. She could not win over the public. Now you need that person. And again, looking at the qualities that yesterday Gambians, or day before, it's a Gambian, wow, tells you that quality is there in this candidate. You see? And these are the ways you select, listen, you have a profile, all these things, and build a profile from the brief that you have, and put. Now, insulate what? To the public and international arena. Because what you realize is, that's one thing Fatoumatta Tambadang did well. But the problem with Fatoumatta Tambadang was, she was kind of polarizing in the community because of the political stand. Because of the political stand. Now, she's been seen as very ambitious. She's been seen as very self-centered by raising his family into everything and his her high interest and so on. But she too was very close, as built up the relationship, political relationship with Macky Sall and others. And for one of the reasons she was removed, in fact, was this: 2, her ambitions, and the political relation with Senegal. The same, and this security brief I am privy of cited Fatoumatta Tambadang's position and the reason she was removed. I think that was a convincing brief to Barrow. And this brought us the vice president we have today. Now we can understand who he is. I've based another perspective, take it as perspective. But there's another angle which that's been come out of, which too can support the brief, security brief, that he have a personal relationship with Barrow. Some people say that actually that's how he became a cabinet minister. I am not saying this true. I don't know, because I don't know the gentleman. All I know is what's available in public records. I hear. Said that he was a teacher, a Barrow's teacher, I don't know, Muslim high school or somewhere else, because people front saying that, oh, the cabinet is full of Muslim, or Barrow's appointment is always Muslim high school. But he's that people say that he's familiar with Barrow. He's a Barrow's teacher or something like that. If that is the case, there's nothing wrong. If the person have the competence, and especially a vice president, someone you believe that they're loyal to you. As a person, that's what you do. Whether the person will perform for the nation is for the main nation to ensure that, but they do. But the most important thing is that those are the qualities that they choose to, or look at for him to become the vice president. Now, our expectations. But we should think of our expectations. Is he going to live up to expectations? I said all the hype or good speech, these things, there's content of the speech which is very important because it's a rare content in our vice presidents or political speech. It's all about showing loyalty to the president. Yeah, the president. But in this case, even the eloquent vice presidents, he talked about pointing out issues, very important, security, and kind of admitting or he did not go political about it. He could have gone political about it, but he just made a direct statement to security, the lack of security, and calling out the relevant departments or ministries and departments. We need to work onto this. We have to calling up the economic conditions, the hardship with this, talking about corruption. That's welcoming. I know why some people are excited with that. We should be. Fine, but we should think of the implementation of this. Is it going to come out? But now, that's the good thing about being optimistic. If it failed to happen, we will hold him to account. If he fails to deliver or things to develop, he can always resign. And Barrow will be exposed. Yeah, I came to do my work or do the work, but Barrow doesn't want it. But if he stays to the end of term or until he gets sacked, he just wants to leave it on speech, no tangible moves, my guy, that's a problem. But we have to think of the responsibility of a vice president too. If the president, you can go and look at the constitution, what it says about a vice president. You can find out that the person is just because these are not elected members. He's not elected to be a vice president. He was selected, appointed by the president. He depends on the president. He can be sacked tomorrow, and so on. There's nothing. He's not elected as a vice president. He was not a running mate where the president have to keep him, or there's other things that president cannot remove him. No, he can just turn out tomorrow. You are gone. Now that's what we have to remember. Now, what other thing is, what responsibility does it have? You only have responsibility delegated to him. Now, if truly Barrow even meant something or care about something, or we have to have an expectation, let's look at what Barrow is going to delegate to him. What responsibility Barrow is going to delegate to him. So that we can hold him accountable for that. Not just a vice president, but he's responsible for this or that or that or that. He's the chair of the security committee, or he's this. Then if it comes to that, then we can talk about security. Vice president, Mr. Vice President, apparently, apparently you are the chair of this. What is this? Or you are this. What is this? We have to look at those things to know what our expectations should be. But we'll come to that again. We move on to Barrow becoming an obstacle. What will happen if Barrow becomes an obstacle? Is he going to resign? Because Barrow is an obstacle already. This is why some people did not have confidence to join the cabinet. But they are right to see it that way. Because they don't want to, they are not ready to take that, but it's a public office. I think if they think they are brave enough to do it, correct to do it, let them do it. If it didn't work out, they can resign. And again, that's holding Barrow accountable. But Barrow is an obstacle because of what his past record or present record, not even past, his present record of corruption and everything else. Because that's why I started with Barrow saying that he is the obstacle. Because every act of corruption, Barrow played a part. Even in the cocaine trade, Barrow played a part. Because if you see it's not been fought, lack of political will. And there are many people close to Barrow who are playing a part in this. If you come to the corruption at Gum Petroleum, Barrow have played a part. Now, I know we are seeing a prosecution of 2 people, but you'd be naive to expect that those people, if they are guilty of anything, or what they are alleged, is only 2 of them that have committed it. That's for another day. The corruption of lands, we all seen the land corruption. Because he appointed these people, he wants for them to do it, and he did not do anything to them when they did something wrong. The corruption of fisheries, Barrow is playing a part. You see, every major corruption in the country, Barrow plays a part, because he is not even making sure something has been done. When he promised an investigation, nothing comes out of it. The corruption at the central bank, Barrow plays a part. And I'm not talking about only the alleged 155. There are a lot of corruption at the central bank. To the extent now, look, if we are not careful, we're going to lose the complete integrity of the central bank. Nobody will trust us. And it's going to have an impact on our economy. That place needs to be sorted out. But there's no political will. That political will is very important. Barrow, if Barrow becomes the obstacle, what is the vice president going to do? That's one measure. Because when we talk about the obstacle, it's about his Barrow's track record. But again, we have to understand and appreciate the power of this executive. Again, because Barrow will use the power of the executive in even dictating the board of directors running these institutions, and indirectly running these institutions instead of the managing directors is appointed. Again, these are things we need to note, that it's not only it's a good speech or he's a good person. Yeah, everybody have a limitations, but what I'm saying is it's a system we're dealing with, it's structures we're talking about. It's past record we have to deal with, of people. We have evidence of the systemic corruption, structured corruption. We have the system of incompetency structured now in the system. Because of that's why Barrow appoints a person of that caliber as agriculture minister, a person of that caliber as environment and climate change, and let's go on. And even people did not even realize the confusion between the so-called new ministry and the civil service at the Secretary General. That's one other thing. Because it's very confusing now. Who is who leads who, where is, what is political, what is not. How is it going to impact on the civil service? These are things we have to be critical about. These are things we're talking about here. Now, we have to have doubt, and we have to have a doubt of a new direction. What is the new direction? Now, this is very important now. This has to be measured. Now, the speech, one thing that I said, the content of the speech, that bit about talking about the security and these things are fine. Now, what is not only talking about what is going to be done about this. We don't want to remember, oh yeah, but he talked about it before. No, what has been done before. Now, if as the vice president, he is at the mercy of the president. What's the president going to give him additional responsibility? This is what we ask. What responsibility the president is going to give him? Now, how is it going to impact on those responsibilities? The obstacles that the presidents have created, how is he going to maneuver those obstacles? And this will lead us to tangible areas that we want to ask. What's going to happen? The first test case is the TRRC report. The past is not going to be forgotten. That's the Janney Commission, the commissions, the different commissions, different allegations, different decisions. We are not going to forget that. But let's just say now, even we're talking about this is the time now. Badra is the vice president with his speech. Now, how is Badra going to make sure the TRRC report goes accordingly? the recommendations of the Charles report, which again President Barrow says he's going to accept the report and we're going to implement it. Is he going to implement the report? Now, what happens? The first test is Barrow refused or deliberately did the same thing what he did with other commission reports, did what he did with the draft constitution, and leave all these people adverse to Manson in position, and the recommendations to be taken. He failed to take those. Now, what is the vice president going to do? That's where we're going to now hold him accountable, and that's where the test is. Not only on the TRRC, but the past malpractice. This past malpractice, we cannot forget about them. Justice needed to be done. Now, we're going to hold them accountable, whether the government is going to do something. The cabinet is going to, what the cabinet is going to do about this? This vice president position, is the position going to be compromised? Now, these are the tests. But another thing is the constitution. Are we going to forget or just to start continue amending the same constitution again, creating more problems, 1997 constitution, and leave anything that empowers the executive? Or are we going back and lift up and dust off the draft constitution, which we spend a lot of money, time, effort, and everything, and try to bring it back to the people? This is another test. If we fail, because one thing before we move forward, we need a constitution. Would this constitution come through is another way to measure, and we need to measure that. And what I said, the designated responsibility. What responsibility would you going to have? I mean, we need to know. Not only to say he's a vice president. I'll tell you, only a vice president doesn't stand for anything. Doesn't mean anything. A vice president means that you deputize where you are asked to deputize. In the absence of the president, obviously, you take charge. That's what vice president. But obviously, the president is alive, president is well, the president is there. Is the president telling you, Ben, so I'm going to do this, I said to go and do that, I said to do this, or I said to this, I'm going, this conference, I cannot attend it. But the president have the powers again to say that this initiative I want you to run, these things I want you to oversee, these things I want you to oversee. Up to even a ministry, the president can even say, I take this minister and request to you, because I want to see it move. Or this task force is coming, I want you to take this task force, I want you to chair it, I want you to do this. That's for the president to do. Those are the things we're going to measure. Now, what I want to do is just to give a history of vice presidents in the country, in our history of since independence. I think just to give a flow of understanding of the role, responsibilities, or how this vice president did affect the country. And this will start when Sharif Mustafa Diba became the first vice president to Jawara. And again, we can see how the appointment works out again. The members, the political party that wins the elections have to form a government. And now, again, the constitution, the president the person who led the party, who becomes the president, was Jawara. And he has to form his cabinet. And the only obstacle for that was, I think, the Minister of Justice have to be someone who's legal, who has certain experience and background in legal, in law. But the rest have to be elected members of parliament. You see, that's another obstacle. Now, the president cannot just go and pick anyone and appoint them minister. Have to be from the people that went through elections. Those people can be from the opposition or his government. But one thing, it was witnessed, no opposition have ever been appointed cabinet minister at the time of Jawara. What happened is Sharif Diba, obviously being prominent then, was appointed vice president. And his tenure was short-lived due to an incident that happened with his brother. The brother was caught smuggling the new coins that we had in them, the new bututs we have. They used to be brass or brass looking, let's say brass, they used to be brass. And what happened is they used to smuggle it to Senegal and sell it to Senegal. The smiths, blacksmiths, do make it into chains, you know, and stuff like that. And the brother was arrested. And due to the brother being arrested, I cannot remember, but I think, I cannot remember, don't take it from me, that the vehicle used was designated to the Vice President Sirdiba. Due to this controversy, he resigned. And even when he resigned, I read about it a few years ago. I'm not sure, I can remember. It's kind of, Jawara did not want him to, but he pushed and wrote his resignation letter. And I think it's available online. And he said he's take his position not to be attainable for what the brother have done. He's resigned. That was very honorable. Then from there on, what happens is Andrews Camara was appointed, a very capable minister. And for my liking, the best vice president ever based on records. Okay, and that's why I said about what we look at people's record past and when they were given the job, what did they do with it? Andrew was a quality of person, and I think what Jawara was doing with the position of vice president was trying to unify the country, trying to strike a balance, and his cabinet was trying to strike a balance from what was going on or where the tensions were coming from, and from the most influential communities and whatever. And Andrew was known, Kamara, may his soul continue to rest in peace. Andrew, some people said Andrew Kamara, was known to be a unifier, and I'll tell you, he was one. And most people don't know this. Even within Fullers, there's a kind of it's less now, but it was really huge. People that realized it or known it between the people from Pulufuta background and people from other fuller background of Gambian origin. They're kind of this, but Andrew was a kind of a person who unify all these people to see him as Andrew he is. But again, Andrew was the person who brought Christians and Muslims to see him for who he is as a vice president or public officer. Andrew was someone who brought people from rural and urban to accept him for who he is. He was very sophisticated as a leader. Throughout his tenure in politics, he was sophisticated. I have never, for the long time he's served in public office, not once a controversy have come out of Andrew Kamara. And I would ask Gambians to try and read his book. That was a great thing to have. I think it's Dr. Jegan Senghor that wrote the book. It was good to write about him, and I hope other people will be written about, so that students and generations will have a memory and help them to figure out where things are gone wrong or where we can move forward. Andrew served as vice president, and before that he served as secretary. I think very sensitive positions, and he delivered. And he served his tenure, and elections came, he was replaced, and he went back, stayed in cabinet. But Badara Njie was appointed as vice president. Badara Njie, not much I know about him. All I know about him is what I know about him is from family, because I am married into his family. I don't know of anything from outside his family. If I said anything here would be positive, one-sided, because everything I know is from the family. I cannot remember any controversy of corruption or anything on Badara Njie. I cannot remember that, of hearing it, because again, that's what our problem is. But again, I cannot remember his life being written, and I hope the family or people interested in histories would write about this. But yeah, and again, these people are elected where they are politicians. They were elected. I think he used to represent Sukuta or somewhere, Skombo somewhere, as a member of parliament, and Badara Njie came in. Then again, Andrew Kamara came back after the tenure of Badara. You see, it was like trying to balance this tribal thing within cabinet or the nation being seen as that. After Sirif Diba, that was what is happening. And Andrew Kamara came back, because again, I don't know the reasons why Jawara brought Andrew back. But again, what we know about Andrew, it's not a surprise that he was the vice president. And at that time, people in fact thought he would be successor. It was not anything indication, but it was like he was brought back second time. And remember, the time he was brought back again, it's been almost the third term of Jawara's term in office. And further down the line, that's when Senghor have resigned. You know, Gambians are thinking, oh, this is what we'll get to that. And Andrew I stayed. And again, to measure Andrew was the critical moment when the 81 coup happened. When the 81 coup happened, Andrew was the vice president of a Jawara travel. People said this, I did not, I will recite this, I have not have facts on this. That what happened was, even it was not gazetted that he was acting as a president. Apparently, I'm not sure, again, don't take it from me. I want to bring it out so that someone can educate us who knows better. That when the president leave outside the jurisdiction or travel, the president should gazette that the vice president will be acting on his behalf and assume the powers of a president and do things. This is very important to note, and I will try and find out this, and I'll come back and tell you why. Because, you know, one other reason Ajah Fatma Tamajan was removed was that he signed a letter as acting president. Now, if it was gazetted that he was acting president, it would have not been a controversy. But probably, still, we are not gazetting that. People, constitutionalists, should let us know, or we should try and find out this. Is it a norm, or is it in the constitution, or what? So, but in 81, he acted as a president, and he was in the midst of things, and was in the Banjul police with the loyalist police, and ensured there was a resemblance of government, and there was a resistance because of the police too could not have just been a resistance if the vice president was not there, and he was with the Senegalese High Commission. When the Senegalese High Commission left Bakau and get into Banjul, at the High Commission, then Senegalese High Commission was in Banjul, and he communicated to Senegal. He was the first point of call, communicated to Senegal, and again, that's where the agreement or whatever you call it was enacted. Before then, Jawara was contacted, and Jawara said to the British that he's going to Senegal because this vice president is, and Jawara quoted that his vice president is in charge, and he was there. That's another credit. Then during the campaign of 1982 elections, something happened, and again I'm not going to elaborate more on because these are things that are not written. That's something I happen to get from accessing people who were around in those days. What happened was there was something called the helicopter crash at around Makati. What's this place called again? Bikamaba, at Bikamaba. It was an election campaign for 1982 elections. Very tense. The Senegalese were there, and Jawara used the helicopter. Apparently, when the helicopter was about to leave, Andrew was the vice president, and Andrew objected going through to the helicopter. He said that he had to take the land because it didn't make sense both the president and the vice president to be in the helicopter. This is something said Biden. It's not something I heard in the years. I'm telling you, when the helicopter crash happened, I was in association of elderly people who do know things, who discuss things, and this is what I heard. I'm not saying it's a fact, but to share, somebody else might know better. That when Andrew said that he was not going to go there, it's the then former vice president, 𝐒𝐒𝐒, the Inspector General, acting Inspector General Police, acting Deputy Inspector General Police, Mas Jara, I think Ablaye Mbub was there, other ministers. There were so many high-ranking things in the helicopter, and it flew to Bikamaba, and something happened. It crashed. Luckily, people who died there, I cannot remember. I mean, I don't want to quote. I'm not sure whether 𝐒𝐒𝐒 died in the helicopter, but some people died, other people were wounded. And I think this too was pinned. it was pinned as Andrew knew something or whatever it is, and there was a conspiracy around it. I don't want to go there. We leave it for another time that we know more about it. But 82 elections happened, and Skama was removed from the position of vice president. Now, I cannot remember whether he was still in cabinet, but I think he was taken out of cabinet. And this was seen as very unceremonial. You know, when the number was trying to recite, this was kind of a hash for everything that he served, and he was just unceremoniously removed. And this angered Andrew, and he formed a political party called GPP. I think it's the Gambia People's Party. I think GPP. Yeah, something like that. But again, that's another history we're going to talk about. But the other history was then a young person was appointed Vice President Bakary Bunja Dabo. Bakary Bunja played a role too, being the ambassador then in Senegal when the 81 coup, attempted coup happened. He was the ambassador, and obviously Jawara hosted Jawara when he came, and they worked on this coming back of Jawara and so on. And he was appointed information minister. After the 82 elections, he was appointed the vice president of the country. Now, this was very important. Remember, I said there was when Andrew Kamara was the appointed vice president. At that time, Senghor resigned, and Abdou Diouf took over. People were thinking, oh, Senghor and Jawara technically served around the same time. Probably Jawara too would resign sometime soon, and Andrew will be next. But it was not something really known or something. It's just as few people might have that feeling until Bakary Bunja was appointed. Now people believe that, oh, now this is a groom as a successor. Now people, when I say people I know, these people are older than me, you know, they talk politics. That's where I learned from my politics. They were, oh no, definitely he won this. The reason too is, this is the only time again, since Sirif Diba, the same person of the same tribe have been appointed vice president. And we have seen what Jawara was doing, trying to bring in diversity all the time, you know, trying to balance up things and so on. But this time, oh, he's a young guy. Okay, Bibi was appointed, being from a technocratic background, but Bibi was not a politician. He came from the missions ambassador to go into cabinet, information minister, and now vice president. Now, what time he joined the PPP, I don't know. But I can tell you that before 81, he was termed NCP. When he joined the PPP, I don't know what, but obviously when he became a vice president, he became a PPP. My take. Bibi can write, I wish he writes about himself now, or other people write about him, and so that we can have a perspective. Bibi became deputy vice president. Interesting, that's why I'm saying that Barrow have a presidency. Bibi 82, and there's this educational reforms. Obviously, Jawara thought highly of that educational reforms, appointed Bibi vice president and minister of education. I'm not sure whether it's this first in 82 or after the second term Bibi came back as vice president. Let's just put it together. Bibi served together. As a vice president, two terms as a vice president together. Again, that two give a direction. Oh, he's the only person who served Andrew after the Diba's resignation. AB was appointed. After one term, AB was removed, and Andrew came back. But after Andrew served one term, he was removed. Bibi, but Bibi is the only one serving 2 terms. And he was young, relatively young, compared to Jawara and the Andrew, AB Njai and others. They were of senior generation, very senior generation. He was relatively young. And he was a technocrat too, he was not a politician. I think he had to go and be Dumbutu for, I think it's Dumbutu, Kian Dumbutu, as an MP to serve, you see. Now, either the first time or the second time there was educational reforms. and Bibi was made the Minister of Education and Vice President. Now, if Barrow want to have a belief or give task the Vice President, he can give him something to run, or many things to run. Not just to say my Vice President can be represented in meetings and stuff like that. Bibi became the Vice President and Mrs. And obviously, look, he was very effective as a Vice President. And he was kind of seen some quarters. And I don't think this is any fault to him, because he have not manifested that as being part of the Terika Four. I mean, as perceptions, but he have been serving diligently. But there was a competition between groups, kabudus, or you call them, and he was subscribed to one of them. Just a minute, let me open the door. He was competent. Let's put it that way. He was competent, and he served loyally until the infighting came in. The infighting came to a level that Jawara have to measure his loyalists, because now the corruption and everything was going on. But Bibi, I can never remember during his time as Vice President being accused of corruption. Never remember. He was termed as a very difficult person and all the things. Some people call him snobbish, intellectual snobbery, and everything else, but never of corruption. Then sorry, I cannot use the phone. I'm on a program. And Bibi served that time, and the controversies. There's no personal controversy, I said, about him or these things, but people have perceptions, some different quarters, and mainly political, because now he's seen as a successor. Now, Jawara was kind of a bit confused, I think, and testing his loyalists, and when announced that he was going to retire. I think that's where Bibi started to have problems. Bibi showed his ambitions, that which is rightly. He did not pretend that he wanted Jawara to stay. He said, yeah, it's time to move on, and he became victimized. But victimized again, he was sent to the finance ministry. And the finance ministry too, he was very competent. He was very competent at the finance ministry and worked with it. Then when Bibi was removed, controversy then happened. The most controversial person then in the government was Sabali, Shehu Sabali. The reason of this controversy was many ministers been accused things before, but Sabali think that he can get away with it. He took the journalists, Asantix, to Sanamane, to court, for libel. And the court went on, look, I mean, more things came out. Details came out of what he was accused of. And the case was, he lost the case. That's saying that then the court have acknowledged that he was corrupt, but Jawara promoted him. We see it as promotion to be the vice president, and Bibi become the finance minister. And that controversy did not help, and he was very political and very ambitious for that matter. But he made Jawara to believe that he is more loyal than Bibi, to the extent of marrying Jawara's niece, Fatma Alami, to reassure Jawara of his loyalty. Because you see, everybody knew it was time for Jawara to go. He has overstayed. But Bibi, that's what Bibi said. But oh no, these people don't want to say, no, if you leave, we will perish. If without you, Gambia will not go. Until an imbecile came and took it from him. You see, that's Sabali. We have Sabali. Then Shehu Sabali. We have seen the background of Shehu Sabali, short-lived. The coup happened and we came into this. Okay, I'm not going to count the vice chairs, Sana Sabali and others. Then they were not vice presidents. Let's start from Jai Sidi. You see, Jai Sidi became a tokenist. But again, being a tokenist and allowing to be used, you see, because That's where this gender thing came up. Saying, oh yeah, Jammeh mu support gender, mu live in gender, live in adult. No, it was a PR for Yaya Jammeh. It was a tokenist appointment. Yaya was raping women. Yaya was abusing, you know. If you abuse a man, you abusing a woman. If you abuse a husband, a father, how many daughters affected? How many wives are affected? You think those women crying are not indirect abuse? And even women were abused in many aspects. There's nothing like championing women. It was a propaganda. And obviously, Jai Shiri came through and served that propaganda, being an ambassador for that propaganda, token for that propaganda. What happened is, that's why I said, now the records would be, if Jai Shiri have stayed there and something happened, Jai Shiri resigned, or if he's scared to live in the country and live in, abroad, she would have been seen outside. But yeah, he had never. The main controversy was the April 10, 11. And the TRRC have hold her accountable on that. And the rest is, oh, I was just the vice president, I just sat here, I was there, this thing. But no, you stay there, giving the dictator or something to propaganda on. You've been the face of the dictator, insulating the dictator in some international forums and something like that. I mean, and using you as this thing. It actually affected part of entrenching the dictatorship. She never resigned. And she became. You see, that's why I said it's important of the vice presidents here. Now this vice president too, that's where we're looking at. We move on there, we have anti-farmers Tamiya. Again, you see, with Mr. Diouf, the present vice president, he has something, and he should not allow to be made in party politics. He should try and show that independence of that being a vice president. Because the problem, the minute you get made into the party politics, you have a problem. You become very divisive. Because I have seen positive from different angles of the political spectrum. And if he starts to perform, even the people that from any political spectrum doesn't like it, you cannot criticize. Or if you criticize, you look foolish. Because you cannot point on what you're going to criticize him on. That's why I said, what we should expect there would be, he performed, if it's any obstacles, he will resign. Now, Fatoumata Tambadang and Fatoumata Tambadang was seen as self-centered, pushing her own agenda, seen as very ambitious, seen as being very strategic, I mean, relying on powers that be, or the forces that can be. In the case here, relying on UDP to become the vice president, because at the time the influence of UDP on Barrow. But the minute he became a vice president, he insulated Barrow and kept the UDP at bay. And obviously the UDP went for her, and she doesn't have a political constituency. She could have taken the women movement as this thing. No, she doesn't want to be burdened with women's issues. She just wants to hold the executive. And that's why we have to remember this point again, as I said. Because if you capture the executive, regardless of your political, that's what she thinks. If she was smart, hold on to constituents. Diaspora, because she had a following and support. Diaspora and women constituency, I'll tell you, Barrow would have thought twice of taking her out. I'm not saying Barrow would not have taken her out, but because of we have seen what he done with the other vice president Dabo, we'll come to that. But after it would have been difficult because of the political constituency. That's what this thing. The reason Barrow is scared of taking Ahmad Ba or Dramé is because of that so-called political constituency. And Dramé with the Saraholis. And even though this is what he does for him, but with his political constituency, these are the things. But I'll tell you, if I was executive, I don't care about that. I can make them, what serve the people and see whether these people have any influence. They don't have the influence. They're in fact using the executive. If they are not ministers, they don't have that influence. Take them out of cabinet and see what happened to them. Nobody will look at them. That's what the Yaya Jammeh knew. Take these people out of cabinet, nothing happened to them. He brings anyone and make you to do anything and take you out. You go, you can't do nothing to him. Now, Mr. Tamajang made this mistake. Instead of having a political constituency that she can rely on and come back on to, we will make it difficult for Barrow. And if she was taken out, she would have something to hold on to, and in fact, move things on. Even become a president. It could have been possible. But no, she insulated Barrow and did something that I think Barrow want to see in the vice president, is be the face of Barrow. Barrow would not speak, Barrow would not appear. Everything, the vice president will appear. Because of she is eloquent, she's very good communicator. If she wants to put a point, until at times she would do things that alienate him, but if she wants to prepare herself, she can do it. She was on the international stage, very impressive. She have a presence and everything. But because of the politicization, what you do is you are not unified. You belong to a spectrum of political constituents. That you are not at this thing. But you have an opportunity here, not to allow to reduce himself to be seen as a part of political spectrum, especially the way divided our politics is and affecting our society. He should just sit on that national and hold an integrity and see, and that's where she can be comfortable. Sorry, he can be comfortable. Sorry about that. Then Tambedou got pushed. Yes, Tambedou was pushed. I was not happy about her because what he does, but other people were not happy about her for different reasons. Now, my perception here is UDP seeing her as hijacking and someone who did not return the loyalty or the support given to her. In fact, now they're seeing her as an obstacle, insulating Barrow and taking Barrow away, and likely to empower Barrow, to dare Barrow to take decisions that will go against the advice of the UDP or the interests of the UDP. This is my observation on that. And culminating with her giving ammunition to the UDP and other critics, not only UDP, other critics and other people lobbying, or there were other people lobbying for vice president positions, with the help of Tangara, who was actually positioning himself to come back to cabinet. And the easiest way for him to come back to cabinet was to come back to the vice president, to foreign affairs. Now is to collude with UDP. This is the perspective we have. Because of that letter I talked about that Mrs. Tambajang's, Madam Tambajang signed as acting president was withheld by, what's it called, Tangara. By that time, Tangara was the ambassador of UN, Gambian ambassador of the UN. And I was told that he refused to forward that letter and made a Gambian lost his appointment. And all offense or perceived as offense was that she signed it as VP, acting president, when the president was away. Now, this helped ammunition, and you can see with the infighting started from there, and that's why Madam Tambajang came and attacked Tangara, say when she went to you, and this is what corruption Tangara did, or that, whatever between them. But what that did was to convince Barrow that, you see, she is very ambitious, be very careful. Another thing, and you see, and which was true, again, seeing her family taking photos with Macky Sall, interaction with Macky Sall, and said, you see, be careful. Madam Tambajang is close to Macky Sall. Now, anything happen to you, she will be the vice president. You should try and get someone loyal. But again, that's not enough. Barrow's intentions and interests. Barrow see it as an interest. Let me silence the UDP. Let me control the UDP by giving the position of vice president to Ousainou Darboe. If I give him vice president to Ousainou Darboe, they cannot criticize me. They will not be able to criticize me. Then because of my ambitions, then I can force the hands of the UDP to make me their president. And not as, this is something he said. He said, now, Barrow came out open. Something that people were insinuating. They said, oh, this is no more a coalition government, this is a UDP government. Barrow came out and said, yes, this is a UDP government because I'm from the UDP, the speaker is from UDP, this minister, that minister, that minister from UDP. But then if I am UDP and everything else, UDP should not, I should be the leader of UDP. UDP should not have a candidate anymore. I should lead the UDP and become their next candidate in the next elections. You see the miscalculation of Senator Dawa. When he disallowed 3 years. Barrow massage, that's why I said the intentions of Barrow have to be understood. Massage things in a way the UDP was not saying where Barrow was coming from. Insulated him, he was insulated until maneuver that happened. Then Barrow got angry because UDP have now seen what Barrow was playing. The UDP Congress, Barrow wanted to bring in his loyalists from the UDP to get into the executive of the UDP so that it would be easy to depose the leadership of UDP and entrench him as the candidate. And UDP went and amended their constitution. What did they do? Lock Barrow out from going through the executive. Now Barrow have an option only to go through the sides to chip off. That's where she was spending money to chip off the parliamentarians and others. But she wanted to absolutely just inherit because of that. Now, the legacy of Dabo in cabinet would have just been seen in external affairs. But to become a vice president, it's only the political controversy. Because vice president, technically have no role. He was just at the mercy of the president. And now everything made out about inheriting. And that was the controversy. And until it got to a level, the tension was so high, it's untenable. Again, and I said it at that time, resign, 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 resign. Don't wait to be sacked. And he got sacked. You see? And that put Dabo at a disadvantage to say, no, I'm loyal to this, I was doing this. No. That's why I go to this vice president again to say that if it gets to a certain level, resign. If you don't resign, it will be very difficult to explain your position. Then Dabo came out, and we see the same thing, a tokenist. They brought Aissatou, female vice president, token. And unfortunately to Aissatou, she was not eloquent, and she thought that she had to do it, Madam Tamajan. Instead of going for a constituency, trying to own a constituency, Kombo is a very contested constituency to come out as, to take over as a constituency. Then Kombo was not the point, because she was from Kombo and the husband was from Kombo, family from Kombo. She should have found a constituency which would have been the woman. She's from CSO, Gamko Tab and so on. And technically, it was the gender card that brought her to politics. But she abandoned the woman, of course. She abandoned everything else and just went on a psychophancy. Just as, again, failed. Barrow. If you oppose Barrow, you are against God, and those statements, and be very, just went very angry, and people cannot just stand that. People see it as very, what you call it, arrogant and so on, in parliament, shouting on all these things. Her track record as trade was bad, dismal. Allegations of padame and squandering of money given from the EU. He cannot account for any job created from the grants and everything else. Trade did not advance in any way or form. Sorry guys, 1 minute. And obviously her position was everything to run around Barrow. Barrow. But she doesn't have a constituency. When you don't have a constituency as a vice president, and you are not productive, you are not, you lose out. And she was struggling. It was a matter of time. She tried everything in the campaign to show this. she was going to go before elections, and Barrow just hold on to her. That's why it wasn't a question of whether she was going or not. Barrow thought probably she would bring in a consequence, but nothing came out of it. Now, that's why, again, a lesson for the vice president is don't allow to fall for this political picking hole. You don't have to show any loyalty to the NPP. Hold on to your constituents, and the constituents will be a national, so as you champion national interests. That's for your integrity, that's for your legacy. And that's for the benefit of Gambia. That's for these things. If that fails, resign. If you don't see a way forward, resign. Now you will be evaluated based on that impact. But for just a speech, the content, there's something else to look into, but we want to see that followed by actions, and we judge you by those actions. Guys, it's going 2 hours. I want to move on to the other bit, the Dubai controversy. The reason for this, I never wanted to speak, because I thought it would just die out and go. Because it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. It's very disturbing what is coming out. But I think there are people exploiting this controversy. There are people overreacting on this controversy. And it's having a great negative impact on our women, which is absolutely not fair. It's an insult to all women, especially African women, Gambian women. Is insulting for the majority, I emphasize, of women who are very decent. And it's an over-exaggeration of what have happened. And that's where I want to come from. We have to be very careful with social media. We have what we call content creators. Content creators, you see, people know how to monetize controversy to make money. And this is one of an example. People, unfortunate, animals are like that. Majority would just go into, they love controversy, and whether they admit it or not. We have seen, go and look at in the Senegambia region, the most followed people are people that just sit their platform to insult or to expose women privacies or people in position of responsible privacy. Whether those people's privacy infringe society, these things or not. Just to say that, oh, this person have a nude picture, that person had sex with that person, and just be paid by politicians to insult for them. And I said, unfortunately, the Gambia will always follow the trend of Senegal. And I know some Gambians will say, why do you have Senegal? We said, lie, we followed. Any insult you see on social media, and the Gambians doing it, they're taking it from Senegal. To the extent, people that follow Senegalese social media would know someone called something Maki, what's her name again? Woman in America. All now she strives on is money given to her by the Maki government. Kura Maki. Everybody heard about Kura Maki. Now before, at the beginning, they say, no, she's just doing it, law for Maki, we didn't lie. Or yeah, probably people around Maki do sponsor her. But to the extent now she's taking foot, Maki allowing, knowing how controversial she is, she insults anyone that critical with Maki, insult a religious, any kind of discipline. She doesn't care. And we saw a foot having photo the same with Maki. If someone is that bad in society, Maki, and now entertained by most of these platforms in Senegalese mainstream media or social media and mainstream or whatever it is, it's about content. Now, to understand why I brought it's just to make sure people to understand the exploitation of issues for content creation because it's been about money. It's been monetized. Now we look at the issue here about the Dubai porta potty, or what they call it, controversy. Now, let's put this at a perspective. Let's look at it at different angles. Women being exploited is never new. It's the oldest profession. But does not mean that women in that environment, they are all being exploited. I'm using the word exploited deliberately. I don't want to use any other word because it's an exploitation of the woman's body, the woman's mind, of what a woman represents. It's the oldest profession. We can even bring it down to in cities, in villages, in anywhere else, there will an environment. And the larger the society is, the more prevalent it will be. And with the commercialization of tourism and other things, obviously, that's how it picks up. People of my generations will tell you it's a different experience as growing up. You might have heard about things, you might not have even seen it. As you go up certain areas, in certain corners in Serekunda, I mean, they call them Calcutta and other places. And again, if you look at it, you find a small bar somewhere, small ghetto somewhere. I mean, ghetto are somewhere, drinking hole. People go and drink, intoxicate, and other things. You see, and people understand the human evolution based on our culture, our beliefs, our exposure. I'll bring this perspective first. You know, to marry a white woman was a privilege for our African men. Because what we have seen before is African men that have traveled, because there were not white women in Africa. Technically, white men in Africa were people that are missionaries or that came with their husbands. Hardly you see a single woman being sent to do anything in Africa. That's where it has started. But we have started having Africans traveling to Europe to study. And these are the people that came to be our technocrats or politicians. And that's why places like Senegal, the most senior politicians married white women. In Africa, most of it to either white women or foreign. You know, Kwame Nkrumah had to marry an Egyptian and sort of like that. And again, we have to understand the colorism, culture of colorism. Darker skinned people have preference, higher preference, not all, higher preference to lighter skinned people, be it men or women. And it becomes in race as well. It does affect certain people. And again, some people's association do influence, their environment do influence. That's their lifestyle. That's their academic districts. At times they marry a woman, white woman, who's not academic. But for them, it's kind of signs of sophistication. They belong. They belong. And the former, they married for love. Just the environment. They met at the university. They met when they were in England, France, or somewhere clubbing. They met somewhere. We know the former president of Botswana, who in fact married and stayed here in England, and after becoming a president. But we know Abdoulaye Wade, Abdou Diouf technically, married to Mulatto, who was a white person culturally. You know, and in Gambia we have few that had married white people before. Then it was seen as a privilege, but mass tourism became, and you have lots of white women coming to the Gambia, and they expose to people, and look at the many people that married white women in the Gambia, then was first people in the tourist industry. Bumpsters, walking the living police, police that look after the beach. I forgot, there's a name for them. And all these people, restaurant people work in restaurants, hospitality industry, have these married women. And some young men see it as a hustle and went and have an interest in white women in order to progress themselves. That happened. But again, when more you look at it, and women, for white men that visited through tourism, most of them too, mainly were within an environment, in hotel environment or clubbing environment or environment that they were able to be in the midst of this thing of a woman that they get to marry. You judge whatever those people you take they are about this. But again, when you look at it now, we have a lot of professional Gambian women in the, before it was front against black women being married to white, have seen something controversial. But now it's not. You have, because of the environment here, we have our daughters, our sisters, and being in an environment, and they fall in love with someone who happened to be white. And there's no controversy anymore. Man, because it's the values they share, whatever they share, they marry. You see this thing. But saying that, that's just to explain evolution of how things can change. But there's always something again in people. We are animals. It's fetish. People have fetish. And race do have fetish as well. But does not mean that it's not in the other races. This thing is that other races are more free to expose their fetish. But our cultures force us to hide our fetish. Let's look at, when you look at Africa as a whole, we say, oh, African men fetish is women with certain kind of appearance and waist beads and you know, other things. That's what men fetish are. That's what we listen. But once those men are exposed, they still have that. Oh, should I call it fetish? No, it becomes so normal, it's not a fetish. But you have other things that are termed to be really mental for any normal person to exercise or have the pleasure from. But it's in Africans, it's in Europeans, it's in Arabs and so on. But what happened here is, when you are not exposed to something, like many Arabs, and they have this mentality of seeing Africans certain ways, and they are not brought up with African women, and so they want to see, or Africans for that matter, they see them in a certain way, and it becomes an appeal, something appealing to go experiment with a black person or African person, just as they do with white people. Arabs will go, you see the Arabs, kings and former kings, most of their kings married white people. People don't know. King Hussein and Jordan and other places, would marry English and other things, because for them it's a sign of sophistication, it's a privilege. They are marrying these white people, English people or other this thing. But again, sexually too, they look at us, they look at Africans in certain ways. Just as Africans, you look at Indians in certain ways. Africans look at Arabs in certain ways and appeal in certain ways. White people too, you see it. They have an appeal to African certain ways, and it's vice versa. We are human. This is natural. But there's this fetish, extreme, let's call it extreme, that no human, normal person would just accept. But what's the percentage of that happening? It's very small. It's very small. But with social media, what is happening is made out to be a very widely exercised thing. That's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. Now, we have to consider the respect we should give to women. Because, as I always said, the respect we give to each other. But let's be honest. It's not that women are vulnerable. It's this precious human beings. The worry we have for our daughters, not the same worry we have for sons, because of the special they are, but what environment we live in. They are likely to be abused. They are likely to be judged. Having multiple partners, that woman is seen as a product and a damaged product. A woman losing virginity is seen as a damaged product. Women having any form of scares or anything on them is seen as a damaged product. A male child can live a life of crime, come out on this other side, we forget about that bit. Male child can become anything, after move from the other side, we forget about that. They can even be accepted to be imams. Yes, many imams have track records, but we forget. The minute we accept but we don't never give chance. The women are never given those chances. And it's not that they are bad or anything, no, because they are precious. But instead of we being fair into it, we taking it, in fact, putting them in disadvantage. That's why we should advocate all the time. Where we see our sisters or women being degraded or being abused, we should stand and speak against it. And this is the reason I'm speaking about it, against it. Because let's bring it back to Gambia or Senegambia. I tell you, if I'm not talking of even if this degrading thing have happened, might happen to one Gambian woman or two. It's not 100. It's not intense. I cannot see it happening. That's what I mean. The degrading might happen one or two. Not even 1% of Gambians visiting, traveling to Dubai. Not even 1% of Gambians travel to Dubai. But now, because of the way it's been presented by content creators and other global people, that's like controversy. Talking about it, they're trying to tempt every woman that travels to Dubai for business, for leisure, nothing in a wrong place, and everything. They're trying to, whether they're married or whatever it is, what age they are, saying this is what they do. And I give you something. Because of our laziness, you know, Gambians still believe that, oh, Umrah, time of Umrah, people buy a ticket, go Umrah, because when you go Umrah, they go, that's the time the Arabs give their charity, and they collect charity, that's why people go to Umrah. That's a lie. You're surprised to find out Arabs are one of the poorest people. I'm not saying they're governments or they are the rich Arabs. They are one of the poorest people. Go and look at the neighborhoods in Saudi Arabia. Go and look at go and look at the stacks. Go and look at the stacks. You think every Arab is rich? You think any Arab with the collars and with the jalbat or whatever you call it is rich? You think every Arab is immoral? You think every Arab is dabbling in fetish? That's an insult to Arabs as well. That's prejudice. But it's the ignorance. They go to Umrah, this thing. You see, these things are not new. These allegations are not new. They say, oh, people go to, it was Saudi Arabia. They go to Saudi Arabia, they sleep with Arabs, and they give them things to bring back. And all the time, it might just be 1%, even prostitution, might be, exploitation might be 1%. But the way it's presented is as every person. And the insinuation even is worst. Generalization, insinuation. Slave queens, slave queens. And every person is this. Do you know how many thousands of Gambians travel to Dubai for legitimate reasons? Will act on anything wrong. You think exploitation only happened in Dubai? In the Gambia itself, go and look at how many motels are in the Gambia. You think those motels thrive from people traveling to come and stay there? It's within what happened in the Gambia. Exploitation at every level. Go and find out how many are in the Gambia. Motels. Go and find out what's happened in going up country in motels or eco lodge. Exploitation is everywhere. Go and check how many happen in Senegal, traveling to Senegal. Go and find out how many Senegalese come to Gambia to do their bit as well. Exploitation is everywhere. There was time they would talk about, oh, no, yeah, they bring their girlfriend to England. It was not even 1% of men doing that. But you realize that this exploitation, because of it's about women, they are taking it very negative on women. I'm just saying, producing how many videos. No, look, all these people telling you they don't see, they cannot tell you they have seen 10 different videos of different people. Probably, or they all have seen one video of one person. And if it is even 100 videos of total of African women, how does it represent African women? How does that affect the image of an African woman? No, what affects the image of African woman is you going around to tarnish the name of African woman. Just what African women do. You are not saying that that's what few. No. It's, if you tarnish a few, you are tarnishing the entire continent. And it's not even fair to the Arabs. All the Arabs are not evil. They are not go to this fetish. Sexual exploitation is at every level. We should condemn it. We should not take part in it. But no, we don't talk about those ones. Very close to home. Those things are not fetish. When we young girls have been look at the report from Mustafa K. Dabo paper about the orphanages in the Gambia been used to exploit boys and girls. Reports, and the government don't do anything. Gambian people are not outraged. But no, we are outraged. Or we are blaming the entire women folk for doing that. No, it's not true. It's unfair. And I think if people were not conscious of this, I just beg any Gambian that respect them, any person that president, don't share these things, don't deal with it. You cannot address it. Addressing it by sharing it, it's not addressing it. This thing will ever happen. The deteriorated thing will ever happen on earth. What we should address is what makes these people become what they become, to allow to be exploited, and it goes to governance. It goes to our moral values. It goes to some of these people being abused as children, abused as young girls. Those are the things we should talk about. Not to turn around. To want to make every woman guilty. I'll tell you, some women, not that their image matters. That's all. That's not they know that they themselves their confidence. But I'll tell you, it doesn't help wherever you turn around. Oh, women going to Dubai, women going to Dubai. That's how they say it. But I am just appealing to my sisters. Continue doing what you do. Go out there. If you think you need to go to Dubai for holiday, go out there for a holiday. If you think you need to go for business, go out for business. Let them say what they say. You know what you are. And we cannot stop. This is the oldest profession. I'm not encouraging it. But if you think it's only women going out to do these things, you are mistaken. Right now in the Gambia, the gigolo industry is just ballooned because of lifestyle. You see, if we don't address the lifestyle problems in the Gambia, people want to have a lifestyle, it's not only women. You will find out how many men, young men, now serviced affluent women, older women, because of what they get from them. Their houses, their clothes, and everything is paid for by a woman. And these people too are been taken to trip. They are taken to Senegal. They traveling to Dubai to service. Not only women, they're servicing men as well. Yes, they are not gay, but because of to maintain their lifestyle, they are servicing men in the Gambia, being exploited with men in the Gambia, exploited with men in Senegal, been exploited with women in men and women in Arab countries. But we don't hear these things being talked about. But we go out there and blast women for something over-exaggerated. What I want to ask Gambians just to think about this. How many percentage, how many videos have you seen? And be careful of content creators. They are monetized. They want the controversy. They want the clicks. They want the outrageous things. You have, animals and all these things now become an industry. They have how many million followers. But people with intellectual platforms and so on, go and look at their followers. They are in the hundreds or few thousands. Guys, thank you very much. And that's what the program was today. Thank you. Have a good day.